Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And speaking of Florida, very honored and pleased once again to have Ellie Finnerty with us tonight from somewhere in that state. I won't reveal any more than that. But she is once again on location at her dog sitting site where she is trying to keep track of a couple of four-legged pups running around there like crazy. So, Ellie, how have you been? It's been a little while.
I've been good. Very, very busy. Very busy, but
yeah. What now? Just busy with work, dog sitting, all these things.
Busy with both. Yeah, mainly work, and also we've had. I don't know if you know, but for people flying internationally, they don't have to have as many COVID tests now. I hope you didn't hear that. That was bad. And so my family have been visiting, so I've had a lot of people visiting.
Oh, wonderful! I thought I saw. Did I see a picture of Hogwarts on your Instagram?
Yeah. I took my dad to Hogwarts yesterday.
Always a good time from what I'm told. I'll probably never go, but that's okay. And also joining me are those other two guys, Ben and Scarps. Ian's on vacation with his family, and wish Ian all the best there, surviving like 3,000 kids in this hot, humid weather that we're dealing with, which is basically what Ellie deals with all the time. So a lot of stuff going on. Steelers wise, there's a few injury things to talk about. We'll obviously talk about the quarterback race, which right now is between like three jackasses, not thoroughbreds. And maybe that's not fair. I don't know. Diontae Johnson signs a new deal, which we'll get to. Robert Spillane, is he about ready to unseat Devin Bush? They're a linebacker. There's all kinds of things going on. So the one thing I did want to start out with is within the AFC North, and it's with our friends there in Cleveland. Deshaun Watson. Most of you by now know that the independent arbiter, a former judge, ruled 6 weeks would be his suspension. No fine. Or anything to that extent. And so now the ball is in the court of the National Football League, which is how this works. And really, it's in Roger Goodell's hands now. From everything that I'm gathering, it sounds like they want to go much harsher, maybe a year, maybe indefinite suspension, slapping him with some sort of fine, and all these things. But a lot of this is because of the backlash of fans. By and large, unless you were a fan of the Cleveland Browns, people were up in arms about it.
A lot of female fans from the Browns had issues too.
Well, and
some males, but a lot more females.
And look, we talked about this before we started the show. As Steelers fans, this is not the easiest subject to talk about because we know that we had a quarterback that had a couple of incidents that made Steeler fans really question some things. And so we are not by any stretch living in a glass house, okay? But we're in the here and now, and this is what's going on. And so, Ellie, I want to know, as an NFL fan, a Steelers fan, you saw 6 games. What was your first thought when you saw that?
I think I'd be surprised, honestly, if anyone was seriously surprised. The NFL has set a precedent for themselves, which is decades long of inconsistent and often pretty weak forms of punishment. Unless you smoke weed or place bets. And so I'm not surprised. Especially, I did see the judge, I do forget her name.
Susan Henderson.
Robinson.
Yeah. That's right.
One of the comments she made was something to following in the pattern that Roger Bell has set.
Right.
Was part of the reason that she made the choices that she made. So the NFL being up in arms should be looking in the mirror. It might. A thing that was kind of strange about her comments as well, one thing I noticed the briefing that was posted online was it was considered non-violent, but he's not allowed to have massages by anyone other than NFL approved personnel. So that's that kind of gives you two schools of thought. Either they really didn't think he was responsible for anything he's been accused of, and they're protecting him by removing the risk of someone accusing him, or they do feel that he is a risk and they are protecting women from him. So that's
the latter.
That's a point that they're going to have to confirm or deny, I suppose.
No, I think that's a great observation to make, and that was the ruling is that, he can only have NFL or Cleveland Browns approved massage therapists now, and in only specific locations and all this stuff. But yet, boy, nothing was violent, nothing was inappropriate.
No. She didn't say nothing was inappropriate.
I know, I threw that in there. Ben, obviously you're not thrilled by this.
No, I thought it was bullshit. By the same token, I agree with what Ellie just said, in so much as she punished him with a 6-game suspension because the NFL had been so inconsistent, and she pointed that out.
Yeah,
she said the NFL had proven their case that he had exhibited predatory behavior. Her word, not mine. That he represented a danger to the women he had interacted with. She said that.
Yep.
He represented a danger to the women he had interacted with, and that he was a risk to the integrity of the NFL, that the NFL had proven all of that. And she said, basically she gave them everything that they needed in her ruling to appeal her discipline. She said, you've done this previous to it. So I'm bound by that because there's precedent, but you proved your case. Now clean up your house. Okay. If you want this to be a longer suspension, make it a longer suspension, set a new precedent. I'm not going to set precedent for you. I'm not doing that.
So in other words, she's basically set the table for Goodell.
She set the table for Goodell, and all he has to do is just say, yeah, we proved it, and this is going to be the punishment going forward for this kind of thing. And I think they're going to throw the book at him. They offered him at least a year, an indefinite suspension. They wanted him to have to reapply for eligibility to play again. That's their end game right now, is pushing him out for a year. Now, they could hypothetically, because the union is threatening to sue them in federal court, they'll lose. Just like the last two guys that sued them in federal court. They're going to go back and go, no, federal court's going to say you don't have standing here because it's in the CBA.
Yeah.
That the commissioner can decide these appeals, like it or not. He can. You're out. But what they're going to do is air a bunch of dirty laundry about the owners. That's the threat. So hypothetically, they could negotiate something between 6 and 17 games. So let's say 12 games, and also a massive fine. He made $10 million last year. Sitting at home. Yes, he did. He made $10 million last year sitting at home.
I was told he served a suspension last year. Didn't get paid.
Whatever Browns fan told you that was full of shit.
Browns fans.
He took the year off. He was on the commissioner's exempt list getting paid. He made $10 million last year.
Because he didn't want to play for that team anymore.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
Or
so if they find him,
Deshaun Watson, right?
If they find him $10 million on top of suspending him for X number of games this year, they could reasonably say, effectively, we've suspended this guy for over a year. Okay? So they could make that case. We're talking about a guy, and I'll recap it again. And, I'm sorry, I don't feel like I live in a glass house. when all this shit went down with Ben, I boxed up all my Ben shit because my name is Ben and I had all kinds of crap. I had a jersey, I had t-shirts, I had a bobblehead, I had a football he'd signed. I boxed it up and I sent it to the Steelers and said, I don't need this anymore. Okay. I will still root for the team. I hope he redeems himself somehow, but I've never worn his shit since. And I won't. And it's not like I think he's a terrible, awful human being. I think he made a horrible, terrible mistake putting himself in that position. And that it shows a pattern of really poor judgment on his part during that time frame in his life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he's gotten past that. Watson is a fucking predator. Okay. And if you can't see that, sorry. You can unfollow me, block me on fucking Twitter. I don't give a shit. Fuck you. Seriously, I don't care. 66 people, 66 women that he approached on Instagram for massages. Okay. This is Harvey Weinstein-esque behavior.
Very much so.
Okay. Best case, very best case, he was hoping to exploit the power dynamic to get some easy sex. And worst case, he's a predator. All right. Only, or something in between that.
Mm-hmm.
He acknowledges that one woman was very upset at the end of the massage. We've heard the whole happy baby rub my taint thing. I don't know why he didn't hire hookers. The guy was making tens of millions of dollars a year. Okay. Yeah. I think in his mind that if it was just a massage and he was getting some sex out of it, that there was nothing wrong with it because it was just a massage as opposed to hiring a hooker. That would actually be cheating on his girlfriend or something. Yeah. I don't know what the fuck was going through this guy's head.
There are true professionals for that duty. I'm just
exactly
saying, right?
And they keep it to themselves.
So Ryan, I want to give you a shot here, but I also want you to kind of walk us through a little bit, if you can, what the Browns PR must be doing right about now, because they've got to be prepared for a number of different scenarios here. So what are your thoughts, first of all?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things, and we'll get back to the Browns PR. But Ellie, I do agree. Like, I wasn't surprised by the decision, but also I wasn't surprised by the decision. But I felt like she sort of gave the NFL like sort of a taste of their own medicine, right? Like, hey, this is like. Hey, here's I know A, B, C, and D, but E, you basically have botched this at every opportunity.
She said, "You fix it."
So I don't fault her because she was. It was clear that based on what was presented to her, I think she probably wanted to go more, but I also think she was kind of like, you know what, based on the past, I'm going to go with what you probably would have done in the first place. But for this specific example, getting back to Brown's PR, don't envy them at all, because at no point during this whole thing has Deshaun Watson shown any remorse.
None.
My first month on the job with the Steelers was dealing with Ben in Milledgeville. Ben with the slick back long hair and that ugly burgundy shirt. First time I ever met him. But he said the right things. He did the right things. He did clean up his image. He got married. He had a family. And some, even Steelers fans will be like, "Oh, that's all a show, yada, 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 whatever." But he did what he needed to do to reshape his image. Right. Deshaun Watson hasn't done any of that. He still thinks he ever did anything wrong, which is really strange to me, because I don't want to take away any of the accusations. I don't want to, I wasn't there. Three sides to every story, mine, yours, and the truth. I don't know what would happen, but when there's that many women, you have to assume something happened. But I just want to say, I don't want to go full Hulk Hogan joining the NWO right now, but the amount of Browns fans that just took so much delight in only 6 games. Like, listen, I know, yes, you beat the Steelers in that wild card game a couple years ago. Yep. And you know what? That's great. And you'll hang your head on that forever. And you know what? If LeBron James didn't take pity on the city of Cleveland and return after he already left because he hated that miserable shithole, and then he come back and actually, literally, good for LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love being down 3-1 against the 70-win Warriors and winning a championship for Cleveland. If that championship doesn't happen, Cleveland is like worse than Detroit. No offense to Michigan people or Detroit people out there because I'm a big Bob Seger fan. But the point being is that I know Browns fans are just fucking clinging to anything they can, and they just want to act. They just want to be relevant. They're like, look, we got this great quarterback. And listen, he's a great quarterback. He really is. He's talented, athletic, very smart. Well, maybe not. But, so I understand Browns fans for wanting to hold on to this. But, like, come on. Like this dude is definitely bad news. And the worst part about it is Steelers fans wanted him. And probably half the league wanted him. And they didn't give a shit about all of this because winning trumps everything.
It does. And that's a great point. How many receipts are out there in the Twitter sphere of Steelers fans saying, I don't care, give me Deshaun Watson, let's trade blah, 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 blah for him.
I don't think anybody on the show right now wanted him.
No.
Okay, I feel very comfortable saying this. Thank God the Steelers didn't want him. Thank God. The Steelers had no interest.
I didn't even want Russell Wilson, who seems like a pretty decent guy.
Nor did I.
Yeah, he's okay. It just would have cost too much.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, Wilson's, he seems like a pretty decent guy. He's upstanding.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit pompous, but he's upstanding at least,
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have any criminal background that I know of.
No. I mean, he's an upstanding guy. He's a little bit of a douchebag about it. That's all.
Yeah. So Ellie, at the end of the day, your life does not hang in the balance here between what Roger Goodell decides or anything like that. What do you expect to happen?
I actually don't know, because it would be unprecedented at this stage to make any grand gesture of change. Most people are assuming a year and a hefty fine. A fine at assume, but that's as much as I can predict at this stage, because historically, the punishment that has already been laid down is the standard. So anything else would be a unique circumstance, which you could argue this was. So that's what I assume. I'm not sure. When do we expect to hear anything?
What, Ben?
It won't be. They'll probably wrap it up before the season starts, is my guess.
Yes.
They said they're going to expedite this.
But they'll sue right away.
Yes.
And they'll try to get a stay. I don't think they'll get it. And I think she intentionally wrote her decision the way that she did, knowing that the courts might scrutinize it later and go, okay, you obviously are saying that the NFL proved their case. So there's really nothing to appeal there. All we're talking about is the length of the suspension. So he's not going to be able to start the season. He's still going to be suspended for at least 6 games.
Right. That's what I was
The NFL is going to seek, a quick appeal, and his lawyers may try and stall it so they can start playing week 7.
So, real quick, Goodell appointed. It's not going to be Goodell. His name's Peter Harvey.
Yeah, you're right.
Former Attorney General of the state of New Jersey.
Okay.
So
he picked a guy on purpose who's going to
no question
throw the book at him.
So real quick, and I'm asking, does a fine? And I don't know this. Is this just about the number of games or the overall punishment?
My understanding is it's going to be both.
Okay.
It's number of games, but one of the things that most were very upset by was the fact that there was no fine. Okay. He really wasn't. He was losing game checks, the 6 game checks, but he still was going to make a tremendous amount of money, and that's what rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Okay. But anyway, real quick, let me just remind you, we are brought to you by Deck Roofing of South Florida. They serve Broward and the Southern Palm Beach counties, whether commercial, industrial, residential, multi-family, or condos. Contact Deck Roofing today by visiting that's DEK roofing.com. Let's turn to the Steelers, guys.
One final thing on Watson, real quick.
Go for it. Yeah.
Here's what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to fine him a lot. I think they're going to suspend him 10 games.
Okay.
That would mean that his first game back would be at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on November 27th.
Made for TV, baby.
I don't know, man.
I think it's going to be.
I think it's going to be more. I think it's going to be more substantial than 10 games, and I think there's going to be a fine on top of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think what they want is 17 games, and a fine. And if they can't get it, if it's fewer games, they're going to seek a bigger fine.
Right. It's going to be a constant give and push pull.
It's like, okay, you want to come back early? You're going to buy games.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk Steelers. Diontae Johnson, and
good deal for all the way around, both parties.
Great deal, both sides. The parameters are very, very simple. This is a 2-year added on to this year. Okay.
2-year extension.
Yes, 2-year extension, and it'll pay him a little more than $18 million per year. And again, we're going to dive into why it was good for both in a second here. But I mean,
Ellie, you want some?
Oh, you got Basil Hayden also tonight?
Long
Me too.
distance dedication over here.
Long distance.
Ellie, you want some whiskey?
You got the American Top 40, Mark. I mean, like Casey Kasem over there. You're good to go, man.
And kids, keep preaching for the stars. Keep your feet on the ground. Ellie, were you surprised that they got something done? Did you think that Diontae would just play this year and then they'd have to either franchise tag him or let him walk? Or I mean, what did you think when you heard that today?
I love DJ. We all know this. He's one of my favorites. Can't help myself. So I was very
really good player.
Yeah, I think he's a great player. I don't think I was actually surprised. I think people made out that he was being more stubborn and unwilling than he really was. I know he was getting a lot of flack for it on.
Sure.
I think his agent was doing his job is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Ben, I think you pointed this out to somebody in a Twitter conversation. I think fans make way more of the drops than the team does.
He had 5 drops last year on 160 some odd targets. I'm like, really?
And then people start nitpicking and they start, well, geez, when did he drop the ball?
Yeah, I mean, when? I mean, they were huge moments and he folded and blah, blah, blah.
That does matter.
Of course it matters, but
it does, but
the likelihood that he's going to continue to have these problems, he's gotten better every single season. And young players get better. This is just, the way things work. Chase Claypool, I expect him to get better. Diontae, I expect him to get better. I expect, based upon what we've seen so far, mainly in just shorts, George Pickens to be an incredibly athletic wide receiver.
Yep.
And apparently a head case. Good doggy. Give her some kisses.
Dog.
Look at her.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not watching the show, one of the dogs Ellie's currently watching has just entered the picture. And was that the pit bull?
Yeah, she said it was a really good deal and she thinks it works well for everyone. And she likes DJ. Good choice, Lola.
Good dog, I tell you.
Quick overview of this deal.
Yeah.
From my perspective, looking at the cap, basically.
Right.
What I was told a couple of weeks ago was they were far apart on a long-term deal. And I thought that was going to be like 4 or 5 years. And that DJ's agent wanted $20 million plus.
Which he had every right to ask for.
Yeah.
Based on the market.
Given the market right now, my God, of course he did.
Absolutely.
So the Steelers were obviously a lot lower than that. They were probably closer to the $15 million that everybody was talking about in February.
Yep.
So, they meet in the middle. They shortened the term of the deal and they give him 18 and change. He gets a massive raise over what he's making now. Okay.
Yep.
Still, he's fairly compensated based upon where the market is right now. There are 15 guys now making $20 million plus at the wide receiver position, which to me is ridiculous, but it is what it is. That's the market.
Yep.
That is the market.
We said the same thing when Joe Flacco got paid. That's the market.
God.
I know.
God. Anyway, so he's making 18 million plus, and he gets done in 2024 at age 29. He can go for one more big contract before his career is up. So this is a really good deal for him and a really good deal for the Steelers. They didn't have to come up with a whole bunch of cash, which that's another part of it. I don't know exactly how much of this was guaranteed.
I don't either.
It's not going to be a lot of money. It might be 1 year or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it all works out pretty well for everybody involved. You find some room in the middle and you go, hey, what about this? What if we did this? We shortened it and he's 29, plenty of prime years left for a wide receiver. Who knows what the market's going to be then?
Mm-hmm.
It's 20 million now. It could be 30 million in 2 years, right?
Yeah. And Ryan, you pointed out earlier today in our discussion that most of these guys that signed these big, massive wide receiver deals, theirs end around 2025, right?
Yeah, everybody else. So think of this. I think of this as a new 3-year deal starting with this year.
Yeah.
The other guys, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin, Hunter Renfrow, Deebo Samuel, and DK Metcalf. That's 5, right?
Yep.
Those guys are under contract through 2025. So Diontae, I agree with Ben and both Ellie. He's a really good player. This is a great deal for both sides.
Yep.
And if I'm Diontae, I'm like, okay. And I brought this up earlier too. Maybe the Steelers floated out there that, hey, listen, we're just going to franchise tag you next offseason and the year after. Because if you think about it, I don't know any bigger name on the team that they would franchise tag next year or the year after. I don't know. So I'm sure there was back and forth, but if you're Diontae, you're like, okay, I don't have to worry about the franchise tag. Worst case scenario is I have my health and I'm 29 years old and I can either re-sign with the Steelers in 2024 or I will probably be a top target wide receiver. And then also I brought this up too. Let's just say this quarterback play sucks this year and his numbers fade. He had great chemistry with Ben.
He did.
Yeah, I know he's had some drops. He's had some fumbles. And yes, they have been in big situations. But let's just say that the quarterback play this year is shit. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying that he doesn't have to go into free agency with that sort of hanging over his head. It can be, okay, I got a year with whomever's a quarterback. I still got 2 more years with the Steelers and then go from there. So really,
just real quick, Ian pointed this out today in our chat that the franchise tag is probably going to be for receivers around 20 million next year. So it's a little less than that. And, as a player, I think a lot of fans see that number and they're like, why wouldn't you want to play for all that money? Well, there's something to be said for a little security.
Long-term security is huge. $100 million versus $20 million.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't think fans realize that sometimes.
The franchise is guaranteed, though.
Yeah. No. I get that. Yeah. Totally guaranteed money and everything.
I just want to point this out.
Yes.
And go ahead and correct Ryan. And since we're looking at possibilities for like somebody the team might franchise next season.
Okay. Yes, please.
Mason Rudolph is a free agent next year, and we know that.
I mean, you're going to have to re-sign him when he wins the starting job and fucking leads this team to 17-0, and then
shut the fuck up.
Holy shit, ladies and gentlemen! If that happens, you heard it right here.
Receipts, as the young kids say.
Show me the receipts. Oh my god. Wow.
You are a dick. But fair.
That was pretty good. That was good. Yeah, I don't see that happening. Real quick here, I do want to remind everybody we're part of the Pigskin Podcast Network, and that means we are very happy to be associated with DraftKings Sportsbook. The next generation of fantasy sports is almost here. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now and sign up with promo code TP TPPN. Click the Rainmakers tile and opt in so you can be ready for the next drop. Play free for millions of prizes all football season and build the ultimate NFT fantasy franchise with Rainmakers Football. That's promo code TPPN only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for deets. Check that out, people. Got
That's
the
another word the
DraftKings
kids say. Isn't that right, Ellie?
deets.
Oh yeah,
Kids.
I threw that in there. You know, I hang around the youngsters. I hear these words.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I'll be back with them in a few weeks. And
What
I'll
generation is that you're teaching now? Generation
A1,
A1,
What?
Z4.
AA is a meeting, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Well,
Only if you want it to be.
true enough. Ellie, before you go and play with the dogs, have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much for dropping by.
Are you really
tonight.
leaving us?
She
am.
is.
Are you prepared to discuss the British swear word of the day before you leave?
I think that's a good question.
Let's think of a really unusual one.
Well, yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, it's not like a bad curse word, but I guess a good classic one would be codswallop.
What the hell is that?
Whoa!
Codswallop is like you're talking bullshit. You're talking a load of codswallop.
Cogswallop.
Yes.
Familiar.
Can you say that again?
COG or COD?
CODSWALLUP.
Codswallop.
Codswallop.
Wait, what is it?
That's a new one for me.
Tomorrow,
Codswallop.
I'm going to point out that Ben is full of codswallop.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Type it in the
Codswallop.
chat.
I love it.
I'll type in the chat
I
for
love
you.
it.
Thank you.
Yes, please put that in the chat, Ellie, because we need to see that.
In the
word.
mean girl chat.
Yeah, that's right. The mean girl chat, as we've established from last week's show. Anyway, and hey, the Premier League campaign starting. Good luck to your Tottenham Hotspurs as they attempt to get a piece of hardware for good old Harry Kane there.
I thought that Ellie was a Liverpool fan.
No. She's
That's
Tottenham. Yes, that is a foul all the way.
That's bollocks.
Yeah, because we know who is a Liverpool fan.
It is bollocks.
Yeah.
We know this.
It's Codswallop is what it is.
Who's a Liverpool
Ellie,
fan?
His initials are MM.
Mark
You're
Madden?
bad, like
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Oh, yeah. He loves Liverpool.
What's his profile?
Oh, how the fuck would I know that?
His profile picture's been Liverpool for like 30 years.
Yeah.
Oh,
Unless, of course,
Whatever.
you block him or he's blocked you.
I don't really pay attention, to be honest. I mean, most of the shit the
noticed.
guy says, I'm just like, yeah, you're trying to get attention.
He's not even the most annoying Pittsburgh sports.
Nah, he's
radio
really
guy
not anymore. But
Who
we'll do
is?
a whole show on that coming up later.
Dunlap?
Anyway, Ellie,
Tony?
have a wonderful evening.
Nah,
We'll
they're
talk.
harmless, but they're annoying.
Bye.
Bye, Ellie.
Bye.
Good night, Ellie.
Peace.
What do you guys? Codswallop.
Interesting.
You are so full of codswallop.
You're talking bullshit. It's Codswallop. Okay.
It's one of the reasons I watch some of these British shows on like Netflix and Hulu and stuff, because I learn this terminology. That's one I had not heard.
I thought she was going to say something in Cockney or something that we were just like, what?
Right. Yeah.
What?
And I know it. I know
Or
it.
Welsh. Huh?
That's true too. I don't. Yeah. Well, didn't she say she's from like dead center in the UK? Like,
Yeah, but
literally
I think her father's side is Welsh.
Well, is that
Yeah.
what it was?
I
Okay.
believe if she has Welsh.
I don't know. To me, I mean, an island that small shouldn't have that many friggin' cultures. But
It's incredible, isn't it?
by the same token, you look at the United States,
Well,
and I've kind of lived all over.
Yeah.
Arizona, the Pacific Northwest, Northern California, Florida, Pittsburgh.
gonna say, forgetting one there.
Yeah. All of those places have distinctly different cultures
Absolutely.
to them.
Yes.
They really do. And though my parents lived in Texas, that's another completely different just completely
it
different
is.
culture altogether. You go there and you visit and you're like, okay, well,
that
all right.
cultures within cultures.
Yeah. And not only that, I mean,
Yeah.
here in Oregon, 4th of July, we go out to rural Oregon to a rodeo, and it's a completely different culture. Everybody's super
Absolutely.
nice. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong.
Yep.
Super
Yep.
nice. It's a completely different culture. And people are, it's amazing to look at everybody's differences when they live this closely to one another.
Well, and it's supposed to be something that makes us great.
Stronger.
Unfortunately, it's been
the last
sent in the other direction.
Last decade or so, it's
it's
been something we use to separate ourselves.
Not gonna stay on that any longer. I want to talk a little defense. Obviously, we'll get to the quarterbacks because that's gonna take a while to even hash out.
Why?
Well, because let's just go there now. Then
let's wait until we see him play a few snaps.
Well, I agree, and that's part of what I'm getting at. So let's just go to the quarterbacks now. Look, if you want to take down every statistic that the quarterbacks in camp have during practice, that's fine. Go ahead, do it. I get it. It's part of what you do. I don't need to do that. I don't need somebody to do that for me. I can see. I can see what's going on. Statistics, as is the case with games themselves, do not always tell the whole story. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers once lost a game to the Houston Texans in which, what was it? The Texans returned 3 pick sixes.
Yeah.
No, it was 2.
Was it 2?
It was 2 and a fumble, though.
That's right. That's right.
And they had a total of 43 yards of offense and they won.
And if you looked at the stats, you would have said, well, this can't be right. That's my point. We've been through over.
That's the exception. It isn't the rule.
Well, but my point is that
what I'm going to say to illustrate the point you're just making, and I agree with you, is what Trubisky was talking about when he was talking about practice about a week ago, when he said, you go into practice and you're trying things. You're figuring out what works. You're trying things that you may not try in a game just to see if you can make it work.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And if you can, then great. You insert it in the game plan. And if it doesn't fly, you throw it out. And this is where we eliminate those things. This is how we come. This is the process.
Right.
So practice stats are a great deal less meaningful than game stats.
Especially in Latrobe. Like what? I mean,
in Latrobe?
Yeah, yes. I mean,
Latrobe.
Sorry. Yeah. In Latrobe.
Why do you say that, Ryan? Why is it meaningless, or not meaningless, but less meaningless?
I don't want to say meaningless because listen, kudos to everybody tracking those stats. It's just another tool in the toolbox. But we don't know what the coaches are looking for. Also, too, Naj has been out. Chase Claypool's been out. Diontae has been out. Muth has been out.
Yep.
So you got all this shit. And then the other thing is too. Oh my god. I feel I'm gonna say this, but I wish y'all could experience 7 shots before 7 shots was cool. 7 shots now.
Yeah.
In training, Ben, you're looking perplexed.
Yeah, 7 shots goes back to Cower.
Yes, but for this year in particular, because Ben isn't there. And there's a quarterback. I don't even say call it a controversy. There's a quarterback competition.
Yes.
It's just 7 shots is super big this year. 7 shots has been around my whole time there.
Yeah.
And I wish you could see 7 shots that first week of practice, so who's running first team reps, so whether that's quarterback, offensive line, eligibles, it doesn't matter. And then I want to see what the fucking results are. I don't give a shit, right? Because if you, and kudos to the media guys that are tracking that stuff, but go back and look at what has happened in 7 shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be Trubisky incomplete pass to who the fuck is that guy?
You're exactly right, Ryan.
Trubisky will be here in some form or fashion.
Right.
That other guy, sorry, man, I don't know who that is. No disrespect, and I hate no disrespect if he's watching this fucking. And,
he's watching.
We got some eligible Sternbergen or something. Mary Steenburgen, Ted Danson's wife.
Probably not, but
mom on Step Brothers. But I'm just saying, no disrespect to that guy, he ain't gonna be here unless there's some drastic, this is take all this shit with a grain of salt.
Yes.
And I'm telling you this right now, Tomlin knows what the media is saying, and he's fucking rotating these guys in and out just to fuck with people. I'm telling you that right now. So forgive me
yes.
after I rip a piss after this, but forgive me if I don't pay attention to these stats in Latrobe.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, you're right. I couldn't say it any better.
So Ryan,
you're talking about all these mixes of personnel that ain't gonna happen in a regular season game.
Exactly.
I get it.
No, it's a completely valid point. But yeah. Ryan, on the pronunciation of Latrobe.
Oh boy,
it's Latrobe.
Did you pick that up from the denizens of Latrobe?
Yeah, it was. There's I don't even know if it's there anymore or if it is RIP because of the pandemic. But there's a spot in Latrobe called the Tin Lizzie. I don't think I could get there sober. I need it's like Beer Fest where you need to be drunk to get there. But I remember like going there one night and like, I mean, I stick out like a sore thumb if I'm outside of Pittsburgh. But I remember I said like Latrobe, and I remember someone was in there like Latrobe. I was like, okay.
So they'll correct you there in Latrobe, huh?
I don't think it was a correction. I think it was a more of like, this needs to be said this way.
Yeah.
And I understood that.
I know people that live there that call it Latrobe, and they think that calling it Latrobe is redneck.
Here we go.
And I'm like, okay, I don't live here. I don't got to vote. I don't really care.
I'll say this. When you're at a bar for the first time and you know you're out of place and someone corrects you on a pronunciation of the spot you're in.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, Latrobe.
When in Rome, baby.
You know?
When
exactly.
in Rome, Ryan.
Just roll
when
with
in
it.
Rome.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I asked people like at camp about it, and the consensus was the correct pronunciation is Latrobe.
Okay.
Well, how did Arnold Palmer say it?
He's not from
I've never met him, RIP, but I enjoy his beverage.
Is he from?
I thought he was from Latrobe.
He is.
I
never got to meet him though, but he's.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's Arnold Palmer Airport.
Yeah, I would take how he said it, and then I would run with it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
you have to Google how he said it.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure he's talked about it someplace. We could get video
back
somewhere,
to
right?
These quarterbacks, though.
Yeah.
The point was made this week amongst many of our chats that Kenny Pickett got some time with the second team when he had just been with the third team, and he actually played better. Is there something to be better? Is there something to be said for the fact that the third team O-line just freaking sucks?
Okay, the way it's been described to me is the third team offensive line is not good, but that the depth along the defensive line, in particular, is very good. Okay, the defensive line last year, the defensive line depth last year was poor.
Right.
But if you're running Chris Wormley, who's started a bunch of games in this league now, and he's going up against some undrafted free agent out of, Westchester State, who's a third or fourth team offensive guard, that guy's getting his ass kicked.
Yeah.
And Wormley's going 100%. He's not screwing around. So it makes things difficult for the third team quarterback. And this is all I'm talking about. It's just that the depth along the D line right now is very good. And they're putting the third team offense at a disadvantage. So they move Mason back and he's playing worse.
Right.
And they move their first round pick up and he's playing much better. He's getting better protection.
Yeah.
And it's a reflection of both. It's a reflection of the defense and the offensive line not being very good at the third level. That's a very young offensive line for the most part. It really is. And if you got guys at the third level there, they're not going to be great guys. They're just not.
Well, and if you listen to Tomlin this week, I mean, I think it's still Mitch Trubisky or bust, to be the starting quarterback. Has he had some moments where he hasn't played real well? Yes. But again, there are a lot of things that go into that. And so again, grain of salt.
The thing that stands out is that Trubisky has been good on long plays.
Yeah.
And the other quarterbacks kind of haven't. They've been consistent producing on shorter plays.
Right.
Which is what we did last year, which is what the hell they want to get away from to create room for the run game, both by improving the line and throwing the ball longer. If you got 8 and 9 guys in the box every time, it's a lot more difficult to run the ball.
No question. No doubt about it. Yeah. Speaking of running the ball, Najee got stepped on during the first day of pads. I think that goes back to Monday.
God, did you see Najee in that on the Instagram video standing next to Tomlin? Jesus, that is a big, big man. Jesus,
his thighs are as big as Tomlin is.
Jesus Christ, he's huge.
And can we just admit they're not football pants anymore? I mean, he was basically wearing bike shorts.
Well, yeah, but
I know,
yeah, but you can do that in practice. You can't do it on the game day.
He didn't even have
unless your name
is
Chris Boswell. You can wear shorty shorts.
That's right.
Have you noticed that?
He always wears the shorty shorts,
and he wears tights underneath it.
Yep.
Man, if I had quads like that, I'd never wear shorts.
like
Naj.
Boswell?
No,
Naj. Yeah.
Oh, he's just. I mean,
I'd wear
like
shorts all the time
Hulk,
if I had
man.
quads like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd be wearing. It'd be 20 degrees out. I'd be wearing shorts.
His quads are
wool socks.
ripping through those babies.
Some wool socks and a scarf and some shorts. I'll be fine. I'm fine.
And real quick on the running back too, Mick Nichols, the kid they just signed, he shoulder injury and he's already out. They signed Master
he's done
Teague.
for the year.
Master Teague, I mean, if his NFL career doesn't work out, he should be like a rapper or something. I mean, with that.
No, if Master Teague's NFL career doesn't work out, have you seen him? This guy is jacked.
Oh,
he I've heard a pro bodybuilder.
Okay.
He is
hopefully he
jacked.
plays that way.
I looked at the guy and I was like, so you're a power back. That's all, huh? Okay, I get it now.
Well, they've been very impressed with Jalen. What is it? Warren.
Warren.
Yeah. Man, everybody's been talking up this kid. People I've talked to said he squares the shoulders, he hits the hole. You don't have anywhere to really tackle him because he gets the shoulders down so well.
Yeah.
And
But he's 5'8", 250.
Oh, hey, nobody's suggesting he's going to be all pro. But
hey,
you just never know when you find these guys.
What were Mewelde Moore's measurements? Huh?
Well, no, that's just it. I mean, I'm rooting for this.
Mewelde Moore was on the Minnetonka Love Boat.
Moore was he really?
He wasn't he? He was with Culpepper. I think
he was 5'9".
Red Smoot.
Smoot dog.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm an asshole tonight.
Whatever.
You're drinking his Miller Lite.
You're an
like
asshole
John
every
Madden.
night.
Scarps is going to burst through the screen like John Madden at the end of a Miller Lite commercial. It's beautiful.
That was the best Miller Lite commercial ever.
No
Scarps,
disrespect.
YouTube that. You kids YouTube that. It's wonderful TV.
Get back.
The
the name was Jace Sternberger.
Oh,
No disrespect to Jace Sternberger, but
Why
Is he
not?
the Ohio State kid?
I don't even know where he went to school.
Oh,
Sorry,
no,
just
A&M.
Double
He's from
disrespect.
Yeah.
But we're talking about running backs, but we also mentioned earlier about the sort of short passing game.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a chart in the last couple of weeks. I think Warren Sharp tweeted out about
Good follow on Twitter.
Yeah, about success. Very analytical stats, like really good stuff. And Steelers fans get mad at him. They think he's a hater, but like he literally like he has facts. He has data. But the Steelers' top 3 receivers last year on success on first down rates were like in the bottom 50. Like not one of them was above 35% success rate on third down. So as much as people want to say, well, Ben was shot last year. Well, if they run the same shitty plays, it's going to be the same shitty results. So, as important as it is to not worry about these reps, the one thing I have seen, at least from tweets from people covering practice, is that this offense is very Canada-like. And to
much
me,
more so than it was.
That's
Yes.
scary because as much as
he sucks.
Well, so there's in tangent.
I said it. You don't have to agree.
No, but like if we get off course, I don't give a shit because I say this because like I know Ben sucked last year. I know some. I know
at points Ben was money.
Yes, he sucked, but he was clutch, and I know for a fact he probably was like, I don't want to do this shit. So if he didn't want to play under center, it sucks, but you know what? He kind of earned that right. But my point being is that even if you play under center and you throw short of the sticks on 3rd and 7, you got to make sure that you're putting faith in your receivers as well. Yep. So if we're doing the same bullshit we've been doing on offense, I don't give a shit who the quarterback is. I don't give a shit who the eligibles are. It ain't going to work. Right. So all these stats and Latrobe and all this whatever, I don't know if it's just vanilla or whatever you want to call it, or if it's just like, we don't want to show our cards. But if it's the same bullshit that has been, I don't give a shit how many jet sweeps you give to Chase Claypool or how many this and that. Maybe these guys are trying different things in practice because they're like, maybe this, I don't like this play. Mm-hmm. I'm just throwing that out there because like Kenny Pickett don't know any better, but maybe Mason does and maybe Mitch does.
Well, since we're talking about this, I just want to go off on another quick tangent.
Do it.
Yeah. One of the things that's been noticed about Kenny Pickett is that he's been good in camp this year. So far, it's early. He's been good when things break down and he has to go off script. When the play breaks down, it doesn't fucking work, and he has to scramble, run around, and find somebody who's open. He's been very good. That may be his strength.
Sounds a little like somebody else from a while ago.
It does. It does. And then we have another guy who can't roll to his left. So I don't know, man. Yeah.
My only thing about that, guess what? Yeah.
Go ahead.
My only thing about that is, and we're talking about Latrobe again. Let's not act like guys don't quit on a play or give a shit or hold off because the play is extended too long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've watched a practice there. Anybody that's watched a practice there, after a certain amount of time, people just stop.
Well, yeah, you realize
even if they don't blow the whistle.
If you have a roster spot, you can do that.
Oh, not all guys are going to stop, but I'm saying that like
if your name is Carlins Platel, you ain't stopping.
But he's and he's picked off Kenny Pickett like twice.
Yeah,
so, which isn't good. But I mean, like, I mean, I do. Yeah, I have heard that about Kenny Pickett as well.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit who starts on this team. I tweeted this earlier this week. I'm going to root for him.
Absolutely.
Especially if it's Mason Rudolph. You'll be super excited.
I hope.
I don't care if it's Rudolph the reindeer.
You ready for this receipt? I hope Mason wins. I hope Mason wins the starting job. I hope they beat Cincinnati in Cincinnati. And I hope Mason throws the game-winning touchdown and he lifts up his shirt and he has "Suck It 7" on it.
I thought you were going to. Who was it? Was it Bobby Carpenter? No. Who was the guy who had the Superman T-shirt on under his jersey and whipped it out? Remember that?
God.
Under Cower. No, I know Mark remembers it.
I don't remember. I don't care.
2003-ish.
Bobby. No.
Oh, Bobby.
Well, Greg Lloyd wore a Superman logo shirt, but that obviously wasn't him.
No. But he didn't rip his shirt up when he scored a touchdown.
Right.
Lifted up God damn it, wide receiver. It's always a wide receiver.
Bobby Shaw?
Like this. No.
You said Bobby. That's why I said
Bobby. I can't remember.
Maybe one of our listeners will.
Anyway,
comment. I can
Cower
see it.
was fucking livid.
Yeah. He was.
I think they'd won 5 games. They were losing by 20. This guy scored a touchdown and lifted his jersey up to show a Superman T-shirt underneath his pads.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
That ain't going to go over well.
You're, and Cower was, that fucking jaw and the spit.
Yep. I can't think. I'll figure it out.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Now I gotta Google it.
Defensively, and Ben, I agree with what you said earlier when we were talking. Until I see Devin Bush in 2022, I'm not going to make too many conclusions here. But Robert Spillane is having a very, very good camp. He's getting some time with the ones. There are some reports, people I've talked to, that Bush doesn't look much different than he did last year, kind of hesitant at times. What do you do? Do you just roll with this Spillane knowing that you've got limitations there?
I think if you roll with Spillane, you're going to get targeted on whatever downs that Spillane is in. So
safe to assume he'll be in on first down, right? In most cases?
No, not necessarily.
No.
He'll be in on short yardage downs.
Okay.
For sure. He's very limited athletically,
right.
But if Bush is limited athletically or won't hit anybody,
yep.
What the hell's the difference? So I don't know exactly what they're going to do there. The good news is this. Miles Jack has been one of the best defenders on this team thus far in camp.
Really good.
He's standing out on a defense that boasts TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and Minkah Fitzpatrick. And he's still in there making plays and standing out, as an individual performer. Mm-hmm. So this is a very, very positive development for this defense. This guy. So
how much does it affect him, though, if the guy next to him isn't playing up to snuff?
To a degree, but to me, inside linebacker play, more than anything else, has to do with the way the defensive front, the 4 or 5 guys in front of them, play. And if those guys are difficult to block and can figure out the blocking scheme and penetrate anyway, and the offensive line has to pool more resources to block them,
mm-hmm.
It creates opportunities for the inside linebackers. Aaron Smith, going way back, was great at identifying what the blocking scheme was going to be, and he was impossible to block. He didn't make every play.
No.
But he was that guy who was always there. You couldn't move him out of his position.
He should be in the Hall of Honor.
And I'm sure he'll get there.
It's coming.
And I'm sure he'll get there.
Fucking love Aaron Smith. Anyway,
it's coming.
And then you had Casey Hampton next to him. And by the way, he was pretty good too.
Same with Hamp. Agreed.
I mean, so that was a great defensive line. Kiesel was probably the weakest player on that defensive line, and he was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really was.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, I'm encouraged the fact that it sounds right now like they've found some depth on this defensive line. Now, again, I agree. You got to figure, who they're going against every day and so on and so forth. But they're at least getting guys that they feel confident enough to roll with a little bit. And man, I'm telling you, if they can go into the season with depth at that position, after what we saw last year, what a huge asset!
It was horrible last year.
Huge asset. God,
the one thing that concerns me, and I didn't listen to the whole interview, so I want to say that off the bat. But Terrell Austin talked to 93.7 The Fan and said that Robert Spillane. Terrell Austin said that if the season started today, it would be Miles Jack and Devin Bush,
mm-hmm.
but Robert Spillane has basically put himself in contention. And I don't assume that that's to replace Miles Jack. I assume that that's to replace Devin Bush. And this is no disrespect to Robert Spillane. I think that he's good against the run, and we all saw that hit against Derrick Henry.
Smart player.
I'm going to say, Robert Spillane at that point literally didn't give a shit if he died or not. And that's all we really ask of our Steelers.
That's right.
a number one draft choice in Devin Bush is sort of on the cusp of being overtaken by a guy in Robert Spillane. So I look at this as,
well, hey, never question the heart of a Western Michigan Bronco. And that's
listen,
what Bobby
I'm a Mac
Spillane
guy.
is.
I get it. I'm a Mac guy. I get it. Mike Mitchell all the way. Y'all fucking hated Mike Mitchell. Shame on you all.
Still do.
Shame. Anyway, you're right, Ben. If the D-line's doing its job, doesn't really matter. No, it matters, but it's different. So that being said, like last year when it was literally, you could drive a truck through those holes for running backs. Devin Bush, even in his prime, what's he going to do? What's Joe Schobert last year? What are they going to do? They're going to do shit. So I don't want it to be like Miles Jack was a bad signing if they struggle early on when it could be the defensive line. But if the defensive line is good, maybe they keep Devin Bush around longer than he should be. But it's never good. I don't know if Terrell Austin was asked that question directly. Is Robert Spillane in the mix? But if he brought his name up for no reason, to me, that says a lot.
I agree. It's the linebackers D-line. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Am I wrong?
You know?
I mean,
no, you're right.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
It is a symbiotic relationship. In fact, look at last year.
Yeah.
Minka Fitzpatrick, the defensive front, the defensive, let's call it 7 guys, not doing their job well enough.
No.
Fitzpatrick had to run up and play linebacker from fucking middle field, from center field. Run up and play linebacker. That's ridiculous. He should not have to do that.
No. And that's, it just can't happen.
Steel Dad, what's next on the agenda?
On the agenda.
Change the subject.
No. I'm just asking.
Let's see here. I got a quick discussion of injuries. And the good news there is, look, nothing too serious. Knock on wood. Okay,
Cam Sutton again.
Yeah, Cam Sutton did leave the field today under his own power. He's got kind of a knee injury they're keeping track of, but
knee contusion, whatever the hell that means. How do you contude your knee? Have you guys ever had a contusion?
Yeah, it sucks.
Sure,
it's like a dent in the muscle. How do you contude your knee?
I have no idea.
I don't want to get.
Freiermuth's been out a little bit. What's Freiermuth's injury?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
They don't have to detail injuries.
No, they don't. They're like hockey.
Here's the thing.
Now.
They're just like, he's out. They don't even know. No, Mark. It's not even like hockey right now. They don't have to say upper body, lower body. They don't have to say shit.
You just guess based on what you see.
Yeah, he's out.
Najee got stepped on.
What?
Claypool had what looked like a shoulder. Yeah. So again, this isn't like what you saw over in Denver with Tim Patrick, the receiver, tearing an ACL. It's just awful. Anytime you see these guys.
That was my fantasy sleeper this year.
Oh boy.
Fucking had that dude dialed up, man.
Well, thank God you didn't have your draft yet.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so that stuff as well.
No, I wasn't being a dick. The reason I asked.
Yeah. What's up?
It's because a certain Pittsburgh sports personality tweeted, Kenny Pickett projections. Best case scenario, Joe Burrow. Worst case scenario, Kirk Cousins. Middle scenario, Derek Carr. The disrespect to all 3 of those guys is off the fucking charts. Okay. But you're saying best case scenario is Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow, fucking Matt guy. Well, no, Ohio State.
Yeah.
But Athens, Ohio, his dad was the coordinator at OU. So, listen, I got a soft spot for Joe Burrow. If you've watched the show, you understand. But those are the projections you're going to give Kenny Pickett. Listen, Pony. It's Pony. And I love Pony. Good dude deep down. But he's selling his soul for this engagement in these clicks and this bullshit. I would never do that ever in my life. This dude hasn't even taken a fucking snap yet. And you're saying the worst case scenario is Kirk Cousins? Let me tell you something about Kirk Cousins. You can hate him. You can shit on him. Kirk Cousins is a pretty damn good quarterback. I'm not saying he's great. I'm not saying he's amazing. But you know what?
Started for the last 4 or 5 years in the league.
Kirk Cousins on my team any day.
Kirk Cousins has started for 10 years, and yes, he's a legitimate NFL starter, which makes him an elite athlete.
Yes.
Yeah. There aren't even 32 of those guys in the world.
Middle projection, Derek Carr. If Kenny Pickett is half as good as Derek Carr is, I would be fucking stunned.
I have, and I said this before he was drafted, and talked a whole bunch of shit. Derek Carr light. He is.
Speaking of, are we sponsored?
Let
me call up the Miller guys.
Let's get some advertising in there, baby.
He's similar to Derek Carr in playing style, but he has a weaker arm. So he's not even that good.
And yeah, he's just doing it to get people riled up, but like
absolutely.
What the fuck? Like how can you literally tweet that and sleep at night? I couldn't do it.
Because
sleep at night.
You just spent 5 minutes talking about it. That's why he tweets that shit.
Damn it. Yeah. He won again. God damn it.
Curses. Yeah, but that's, I mean, and I don't necessarily fault him. He's just fallen into the same trap that so many of these other people have done now. They just put shit out
Pony
there,
is the one that Ian refers to as Pitt Bayless, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of all makes sense now.
Yeah.
It's not, whether he believes it or not, that's kind of secondary.
Right.
This will generate the most controversy.
Create talking points, baby.
Talking points, engagement, whatever. I'm going to do this thing. Gets me the most attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, he also tweeted that the Raiders and the Jaguars are both going to make the playoffs this year.
Ooh.
So.
Ooh. I just noticed that Ryan's got a buzz. He just said Jaguars.
Where's Ellie? Ellie would be like Jaguar.
Man, that is some codswaddles right there. That's what that is. Boswell also signing his deal this week, basically making him one of the highest paid kickers in the league, right up there with Justin Tucker. I mean, I think we've all said he's right there with him, other than the distance. I think Tucker's got him 6 to 8 yards, maybe.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, he's been a terrific kicker, fourth most accurate in league history, and a great Steeler. I mean, yeah, you pay the guy, and I think
I was surprised they paid him as much as Tucker.
I was
too. Honestly, if I'm Tucker, I'm immediately asking for a raise.
I'm with you. Ben, I thought the same thing.
That is not to say that Boswell doesn't deserve this money. He does.
Right.
Absolutely. But Tucker is as much as I hate the fucking Ravens, you guys know this.
Of course.
As much as I do, and I hate that fucker too.
Oh, I can't stand it.
He's an asshole. Obviously, a douchebag I was always destined to hate. But he's really good at his job. He's the best.
He's the best.
I mean, basically, you take Boswell and Tucker and you put them next to each other, and they're the same guy, except that Tucker's range is 7 to 9 yards longer.
It is. That's the difference.
Yeah.
It is. And I'm glad they re-signed him. He's a very deserving guy.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, you look at the considerations under which he came to Pittsburgh. He didn't.
I love that story Ryan told about writing up bios.
About what?
Writing up bios for kickers.
Oh, that's right.
Listen, man. When we signed Sweeze after Jeff Reed, I was like, please, God, let this guy do good. And then he did so good. And then went to that dreaded the Hall of Fame games tonight. We went to that dreaded Hall of Fame game with a turf that looked like it was at my high school.
Yeah.
And just Sweeze him went down. And then it was Garrett Hartley. And it's like, oh, here's 10 years off my life. And then he got hurt. And then it was Josh Scobie. And here's 10 more years off my life. And then we signed the unknown Chris Boswell, and I'm like, oh fuck, he ain't never been in the he wasn't a rookie, he was a first year because it was the year before, but he had no stats, and I was like, praise the Lord. And then while looking this up the other day, this is oddly enough, I forgot that we signed Shane Graham.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
for
right.
like a week because Boz might have been hurt and Shane Graham didn't even make the Sunday roster. Like it was just a precaution. That was another 10 years off my life. Shane Graham, if you're watching, great fucking kicker. Anyway, point being is that Boz in the NFL history in the postseason, only Robbie Gould has made more field goals without missing one. Robbie Gould has made 21 of 21 in the postseason in his career. Boz is 16 of 16.
Unbelievable stat.
And then in the regular season, the most accurate kickers in NFL history in the regular season, minimum 150 makes. Boz is second all time to Tucker.
Yep.
Sweesham is like 14th. And then Jeff Reed is even tied for like 32nd. So like the Steelers have literally had consistency at kicker for like 20-something years now. And then if you look at that list, Randy goddamn Bullock is on that list. He's at like 20-something, and he kicked 3 field goals for the Steelers against, I think, the Giants in 20-something, 2015 or 16. I was there. But then Shane Graham is on that list, and that's what got me back to like the Steelers have had. Anyway, I'm rambling now.
That's all right. It's all good. Yeah, well, we're running.
If AB's watching AB, let's bury the hatchet, okay?
Yeah, right.
And we're the
put that shit on with him.
Turn that shit on.
He's such a fucking.
What is it?
It's put that shit on.
Put that shit on. Not turn that shit on.
It is the worst thing.
Is that the name of the song?
Yeah, and it's. I don't know why anyone would pay money to see it performed. I do not.
He's living his best life. Good for him.
I know. I mean, he's loving what he's doing, and you're right. He's living his best life,
but only a matter of time before he wants to play football again,
or has to play football again. He's burning through. I'll bet you. He's
only a matter of time before he floats out a tweet like, "Hey, Tom Brady, what's up, man?"
Yep.
The Bucs aren't going to take him back.
No,
I know that, but still.
No.
Steelers won't take him back.
No.
Who
Deshaun
will?
Watson only gets suspended 10 games and then faces the Buccaneers in that 11th game, his first game back, and then AB signs with the Browns.
Yeah, maybe. Or
the Browns of our lives.
Or Mike Brown. Mike Brown has never shied away from signing a guy who had a bunch of character issues.
No, he's not.
Anybody he can sign who's highly talented but has character issues who will come on the cheap. That guy is like all over it.
But he won't sign. But he won't sign a top.
Won't sign Bates.
But he won't sign. I would probably say top. I'd say top 3 safety.
I would agree with you. Bates is awesome.
And it might sound salty because I'm a Steelers fan and they're better than us now, but he's really Jesse Bates is really, really
he's outstanding.
Really yep.
He's outstanding. Yep. And Mike Brown has a fuck ton of cap space. He's got $18 million left this year and $35 next year, and won't sign Bates.
For you Pirates fans out there, any Pittsburgh Pirate fans out there, Bob Nutting needs to go. There are plenty of Bob Nuttings in the NFL, but there's a salary cap. I just want to say that.
Did you see that kid who? Did you see that? That was brilliant. Got the picture next to Nutting. This
we had sell the team
before. Sell the team,
and then Nutting literally looked at the
shirt and then smiled.
Oh, sell the team. Oh fuck, I suck.
Smiled and took the photo. Holy shit!
Listen, kudos to Bob Nutting for like keeping his composure, whatever.
Right.
But what an insult! Like if I had that much money and I saw that shirt, I'd go home and look in the mirror and be like, man, I got to do better.
Yeah. Kudos to the kid. Great
that
job.
Kid is fucking legendary.
He will be a legend in the bird
whatever
forever.
The hell his name is. He's legendary.
Yeah. Well, if he's a Steelers fan, maybe he can reach out here on the show and
get him on the podcast.
We'll get him on the pod. Let him chat it up a little bit. But anyway, we're about done chatting it up. So we're going to wrap things up here. We are Steelers. We're still about 10 days away from kicking off the preseason against the Seattle Seahawks. Steelers will play the Seahawks and the Jaguars. Game? It is.
Jaguars.
And then we finish with the Leos
Why do you make Seattle come across the country? That's the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
Well, it's preseason
For
game.
a preseason game, that is really dumb. I agree with
Yeah,
you.
by and large, they had always been regional games. We play Washington, Detroit, Carolina,
Washington. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, teams where you don't have to travel very far. I do. I feel bad for Seattle. I think that's stupid.
Put it another way. What if the Steelers had to fly to San Francisco?
Agreed.
Oh,
for a preseason game, we'd be like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Yeah. Oh, I'd be pissed. Absolutely pissed. But that'll be for another show. All right. For these guys and for Ellie, thanks so much for listening. Make sure you leave a comment, leave a review for us. Tell us how awesome we are, please. This is the SCB Steelers Podcast.
Send all your hate mail to Steel Dad.
Send it to me. Presented by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And hey, go Steelers.
Ravens suck. Hate mail to Steel